a medication that neutralizes the AIDS disease. How much you would have bet it never goes to market? Why? Because there's more money in the drugs than it is in curing. Excuse me. Thanks. That's number one. And number two is an African racial extermination strategy. So the last thing you need is people coming up with ways for black folks not to catch them and kill each other with it. By 2005, the number of people living with AIDS reached its highest level. 40 million people, mostly African, African-American, Caribbean, African, Asian females are living with this man-made disease. Let me ask y'all a question. I was in Malawi a couple years ago, Southeast Africa. I escorted an elder over there. He met up with some of his Korean friends. They were Korean. They was over there trying to exploit Africa and they wanted him to help them. So me and the Korean argued the whole trip. But anyway, me and the Korean had a conversation about AIDS. So they was talking about AIDS in Southeast Africa and AIDS is killing the continent, da 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 da. And guess what this Korean man said? No, he doesn't like black folks. Guess what he said? He said, I have no doubt that you are correct about one thing. And that is that AIDS was invented to kill off your people. I said, why do you say that? This is a conversation we have in Malawi. He says because the white man is saying that the reason why AIDS is so high in the black community in America is because of promiscuity. Too many men sleeping around, gay people sleeping around, multiple baby moms, multiple baby daddies that spread the AIDS. He said that's bullshit. I said, why you say that, Mr. Korean? He said, because, he said, I live in Korea. We have one of the highest prostitution rates in the world. He said, our prostitution rate is significantly higher than anything black Americans is doing. And we have almost no AIDS problem. He said, our prostitutes are poor, they are destitute, almost no medical insurance, no protection from the government, and almost no AIDS in a sexually promiscuous culture. So how can it be that sexual promiscuity is breeding AIDS in black folk when we have a lot of sexual promiscuity in Korea? Very low condom usage and everything else, almost no AIDS. He said it's because they're giving it to y'all. Damn. They're giving it to y'all. And we need to understand that. Biological weapons lab. Anybody with common sense know what that means. United States Army, biological weapons. That means you're about the business of what? Developing diseases that target certain people. And this is one of the reasons why I keep telling you all, as a psychologist, to stop immunizing your children. Now, the question is, what do I do if I don't give them shots? They won't be able to go to school. That's a lie. There's only 2 states in America that dictate the child must be immunized in order to go to public or charter school. And even in those states, you can get a lawyer and get around it. And that is Mississippi and West Virginia. This is California. So guess what? You do not have to immunize your child in order for them to go to school. So what do? 3 strategies. Number 1, you go to the County Board of Health. County Board of Health, there's an exemption form that you can download, print, sign, notarize, give it to the school secretary, life goes on. Number 2, you can write a letter. I just had a parent do this in New Jersey. You write a letter, get it notarized, my child will not be getting shots, I'm against it, it's against my religious and my personal political views. My child will not be getting shots. You get it notarized, you go to the school. 3rd thing, you have your lawyer call the school. Once in a while, you might have to have a lawyer intervene. Once in a while. Most of the time, you can handle it on your own. Normally, when I see lawyers as necessary is when the child goes to a private school, like one of the rich white private schools. That's when you might need a lawyer. But if you're dealing with public or parochial school, any publicly funded program, the children do not have to be immunized if it's publicly funded. All you have to do is download that exemption form from the County Board of Health, write you a notarized letter, and what's the 3rd way, which is the easiest? Have your doctor fill out the immunization exemption form. That's the simplest way. Get your doctor to do it. Here's the problem with the doctors. Most doctors will have their medical insurance revoked, malpractice insurance, if it's found out that they treat children who are not immunized. That's why a lot of doctors are afraid of that. Because if they treat your child, God forbid, if you decide to sue them for whatever reason, they're not protected. Wait.
What a big one.
You can get around that. If it's a public university. Private schools can decide what they want. A public university, you can get around it. They can't force you to immunize at a public university. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
What about people who are in the medical field? There's a lot of hospitals,
It differs. I do know for a fact, if you're a nurse or a doctor at a public hospital, okay, you can get around it, because I knew of a nurse who did. However, they made it so difficult for her to do her job, she just went ahead and got the shots. They required her to wear a certain type of an outfit, a certain type of a face mask. I mean, she was looking like an alien or something where she went to work. But you can get around it if it's public. If it's private, they can dictate whatever they want. But even still, you have a little bit of leeway. Okay? So, stop immunizing the children. In my experience, our children who are not immunized are healthier than the ones who are. They catch less colds. They can sit still longer. More intelligent, more disciplined. Across the board. Not for everyone. But generally, from what I find, your child can only be benefited with the immunization. It also works when you leave the country. You're going to Africa. There is an international immunization exemption form that you can fill out that precludes you from having to get a shot to go home. So there's even on an international level, you don't have to take the shots. Now, some of you are saying, what's the problem with the shots white people take them too? Let's talk about that. I knew a brother who used to drive the trucks that delivered the immunizations in Philadelphia. One day he accidentally got the deliveries mixed up. The immunization for the ghetto accidentally went to the white neighborhood. And the immunizations for the white neighborhood accidentally went to the ghetto. So he dropped off the immunizations that was for the white kids in the ghetto. Before he could get up to the white neighborhood to give them the ghetto immunizations, he got a phone call. He didn't even know he was under surveillance. And they asked him, where you taking them shots? And I forget what the shot was, measles, whatever. He said, well, I accidentally dropped this package off there, but since it's the same thing, I figured it didn't matter. The supervisor told him, it is not the same thing. You will go and pick it up and take it to where the package says. I'm bringing this up to say what, black people? The immunizations they bring into the hood ain't the same ones they take into the suburbs. It's important that y'all understand that. I believe that they're putting time-release cancer in the immunizations that they're giving to black children. Just like you could go get some time-release vitamin C or some time-release Prozac, where some comes out as soon as you take it. A little bit more gets released at 2 o'clock, and the rest of it gets released at 6 o'clock around dinner. How about they have the same thing for disease? How about you get breast cancer at 40, heart cancer at 60, prostate cancer at 80. I think they time releasing us with diseases. If you look at when most of us get our cancers, it's around the same ages a lot of times. Stop taking the shots. You don't need them. If you study the history of American immunization, you'll find that the immunization movement grew up around the need to protect whites from diseases black people didn't even get.
Come on. Right.
The immunization works by doing what? Pushing your natural immune system out the way so the chemicals can work. If you have an arm that works, why would you cut it off and put a fake one on?
Yeah, come on. Make it plain. Make it plain.
Let me go a little bit further. In order to give you the flu vaccination, they have to put flu in you.
Right.
Same thing with measles and everything else. They put a little bit of the disease in your body. The theory being what? That your body will develop a resistance to that small amount of flu so it'll be able to fight off future attacks. That's the logic. But is that the reality? Stop taking them flu shots. Time-release cancer. Time-release diabetes. Time-release hypertension. Do you realize that America has over 500 doctors who come to work on a daily basis to come up with diseases for black people? That's their job at the bioweapons lab. What new thing can we give to blacks? See, abortion was the first population control strategy. Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood, the early 20s. And by the way, W.E.B. Du Bois helped her out. But in his defense, I don't think he knew what she was up to. He just thought she was a good white person. And where did Margaret Sanger go to push Planned Parenthood? The black church. That's her first place. That's when she got her most support. She got with the pastors and said these women need to stop having these babies out of wedlock. They're not married. And the pastor said, See how they used them? And speaking of Planned Parenthood, I don't know if you know this, but 85% of Planned Parenthood centers are adjacent to black ghettos. Now some of y'all gonna say, well, white women get abortions too, but not at the rate you do. Black women have the highest abortion rate in the developed world. The only other women who get as much abortions as you are your sisters in South Africa. Ain't that interesting? Ain't that interesting? We've aborted over 3 million African lives since the 70s, which is interesting. Because if you look at the black-on-black male homicide rate and you compare it to the prenatal extermination rate, I think abortions are leading homicide. I'm not dealing with this from a moral perspective. I want to be clear. It ain't about judging you. I'm just saying we got to rethink our political behavior. Yeah. And they keep talking all this talk about the Latinos is taking over. Well, let's talk about that. First of all, what the hell is a Hispanic in the first place? Do you know what a Hispanic is? A Hispanic is an African who speaks Spanish but who don't want to be an African. Their grandmothers are just as black as yours. Okay? My great-grandfather Cicero was a Spanish-speaking Cuban. Okay? And if most of you shake your family trees long enough, you're going to get a couple so-called Hispanics drop out as well, because during the transatlantic slave trade, they didn't bring us straight over to America. They took us to the Caribbean. And what were the two largest slave ports in the Caribbean up until the 1800s? Cuba and Puerto Rico. For those of you who know your Marcus Garvey history, you know that Cuba and Puerto Rico were the two most thoroughly organized Caribbean nations for Marcus Garvey's movement. Yes, sir. Imagine that. But the problem was when those so-called Hispanics, Spanish-speaking Africans, came to America back in the 20s through the 60s, and they was filling out their paperwork, they would check white. Blacker than you. Head nappier than yours. White. And the white man said, hold up, what's going on here? They're not white, they're black. They said, no, we don't want to be identified with them. We special. So in the 1960s, 1970s, white man said, I'm going to give y'all your own title because y'all not white. Y'all cannot claim white. Ain't nothing white about you. You got a big butt, big hips, just like the black women do. Ain't But what we going to do, we want to let you call yourself Hispanic, which is not a cultural word. It is a political title that the government created. Do your research. You don't have to believe me. And from 1970 to 2014, they've been letting Spanish-speaking Africans get away with calling themselves Hispanic. That's why when you look on the census or any job application, what do you see? Hispanic, not black. Black, not Hispanic. If Hispanic ain't black, why the hell you got to qualify it? Because it's the same people. Slave master dropped some of us off in the Caribbean and taught us Spanish and brought the rest of us up here and taught us English. Same people. But that don't mean I go out recruiting Latinos, because some of y'all like to recruit people. Stop recruiting. Some of them are some of the most racist people you'll find. Yeah, they might be your biological brother or sister, but they can't stand your ass. They don't want a light-skin supremacy movement, and they don't want to be bothered with you.
I love that white Jesus, too.
So I say that to say, for my Latino brothers and sisters who accept their Africanity, they my brothers. There's some out there who do. But for the ones who don't, the hell with them. They go for black folks too.
All right.
Okay? For any of you in here, if you don't want to be black, I'm done with your ass. I'm not trying to rescue people from their ignorance. Some of us want to go around recruiting people. You know you black, right? Fill out these papers. Come and join our team. We don't own nothing. Come play. The reason why you got so many black people who don't want to be black is because we losing right now. If you want to play football, if you want to join a football team, do you go find a team that ain't won the game? Or do you go find a team who's been winning consecutively? It is not within human nature to start at the bottom and go up to the top if you can start out at the top. So when Hispanic comes to America, Hispanic say, okay, I know I'm African, but they ain't got shit. I'm going to go here and play a white card. Or something. Or the Latino card. But I ain't going to say I'm black, because what good is saying I'm black in a place where blacks get no respect? That's why they do it. I understand it. I don't accept it. It's trifling, but I understand it. So that means 50 years from now, when we fix our problem and we got our own everything, they're going to come right on back. Julio and all of them. Red, black, and green. I need a job, Dr. Umar. You got to understand that. It's the politics of the race in between. It's the politics of the race in between. We got to be able to understand it. My biracial brothers and sisters, they African like the rest of us. But they have to make up their mind, some of them. On whether you want to be a part-time African or full-time African. I know I'm not talking about my brother back there. Some of our other brothers and sisters who might be of mixed parentage are still African like the rest of us. But some of them have a schism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to be black on the weekends. And white during the week. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It ain't most of them, but some got that schism. I had a couple of them I had to check a few times. Like I'm noticing that when you with your white family, you don't even speak. Wow. See, you live in two lives. It ain't that type of game. Make up your mind. You're either going to be black or you're not. I don't even see what the hard part is because white folks are clear that you ain't white. Right. They have no schisms and isms and shit. You ain't one of us. And it's interesting because when we talk about interracial marriage, and some of y'all think we're in a post-racial society, well, let me tell you a little story. When I was working on my doctorate, we had to do our practicums. And I had a white woman. And she was an attractive white woman. I don't see too many of them. She had a daughter with a black man. So she came to therapy. I'm a student, got to do my practice. I ain't got no problem. I work with anybody. So we doing therapy about her depression, and then I got to the root of the depression. Guess what it was? Her mother, her Irish white mother, forbid her from bringing her black daughter to her house. Beautiful little black princess too. 12 years old at the time, has never met her maternal grandmother because her father was black. And she used to come to therapy and cry to me every week about how I can't believe my mother would reject my child. That's right. So for all y'all post-racials, you better wake up and smell the damn coffee. I learned of another situation. I think I learned about it here in California. My last visit about this white woman had a baby with this black man. They went to the restaurant to eat. She said she had to use the restroom and never came back. She didn't want to be bothered with the fact that she had a biracial child. And this word biracial was just like Hispanic. It's a political creation. When you study blacks in America, you'll find that a lot of our people was biracial because of the slave master's rape and exploitation. Nobody called Frederick Douglass biracial. Nobody called none of those people biracial. They was black like everybody else. But all of a sudden in the year 2000, having a black mother or black father, you're biracial. You know what that's about? That's about divide and conquer, separate and rule. That's about creating schisms within the black movement. We've never had an issue with the biracial piece. They either identified with us or they didn't. They was black either way, but they either identified or they didn't. Now it's biracial because of Tiger Woods don't want to be black. It's biracial. President Obama don't want to be black. It's biracial. Halle Berry don't want to be black. It's biracial. But Mariah Carey don't want to be black, and she crazy as hell. She can stay on that side. Biracial. And did you see what they did with the 2010 census? Now they got multiracial. Damn. Now you can be multi. So now you got black people shaking their family tree, helping the cracker fall out. Come on, I know I got one in this tree. So you can check the multiracial box. I go on college campuses, I got black folks with black skin, big lips, big nose, nappy hair, talking about, I don't really know what to call myself, Dr. Johnson, because I got Asians in my family, East Indians in my family, I got this in my family, that in my family. And I'm standing up there, I'm trying to think of something politically correct to say to this sick-ass Negro child. You look like Aunt Jemima personified. Talk about you don't know what race your ass is. Hair nappy is that? What the? This is what we do. The illusion of inclusion. I'm talking to the girls in the class. One girl talking about, you don't know what you talking about, because I got Indian in my family, we got this, and we Choctaw, and we Seminole, and we this and this and this. I said, if you don't sit your ass down, you ain't got Indian in your family, you got Perm in your family, sit your ass down with that weed. You got that from the Korean store, ain't no damn DNA. Sit your ass. Black people crazy. Don't nobody want to be black. Nobody. You go in the whole room of black folks. What are you? You get anything other than black? I'm Muslim. I'm Christian. I'm Catholic. I'm this. I'm this. I'm that. I'm multi. I'm quad. I'm this. Nobody want to be black. First of all, when you look at the census, most of them designees are alternative names for black people. On the census, you got that category about 10 to 15 titles, right? You got your Anglo. You got your Asian. And remember, the Chinese people in America, they tried to fight for the right to be white too before, but they lost. I know that, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, Chinese fought for the right to be white and they lost. The Mexicans fought for the right to be white and they won. Okay? Irish, Italians, and Jews, they didn't become white till 1940. I know that, right? Yes, sir. Up until 1940, if you was Irish, Italian, and Jew, what they call you? Guinea. Why do they call you Guinea? Because that black hair and that olive skin means your ancestors was dancing around with the women from Guinea, Africa. Yeah. But the white man needed more people in his army. Because, you know, they're not too good on the reproductives. That's why AIDS and Ebola is important. See, the one thing you got to understand, if I put it in a form of a question, why is it that nearly every time a black man was hung in America, he was castrated? Now, they hung Jews, but they never cut their penises off. They hung Italians. They hung Irish in America. They hung Chinese in America. The Anti-Chinese Act was brutal, but they never castrated them. But 9 out of every 10 times when they hung a black male, they castrated him. Do you know why? Because that was the white man's insecurity. Not the size of the penis. That's where y'all get wrong. Because not every brother is blessed. Let's not get it messed up. Okay? Let's not get some sisters don't have to talk. Okay, can we keep it real, man? Come on, man. Okay? Okay, some brothers have a white ancestor who won out. Willie Lynch came through here. Okay? Okay? It wasn't for his size. It was for his genetic power, not the size. It's the genetic power. No matter what his size is, when the black man lays with a woman of any other race, the product of the relationship is an African baby.
Yeah.
We are genetic dominant. They are genetic recessive. So from a genetic recessive who got plans of taking over the world because of my own genetic insecurities, if I can't match the black man's genetic power, I can't match his genetic penile power, that means I have to come up with an equalizer. And it's called the big black gun. If the white man wants to kill black life, he has to use a gun. If a black man wants to kill white life, he only has to use his tools. You see the difference there? We don't have to kill nobody. We want to turn a nation black, we ain't got to kill nobody. We just have to go have a tape with the women. In 20 years, that country will be tan. 40 years, that country will be brown. In 100 years, it will be black with one black man. But if the white man was to come to an African country and change the color of the people, he has to systematically exterminate. That's why the gun has always been called in American culture the great equalizer. What are you equalizing? You're balancing the genetic power of the black man with your power of extermination. And that's why whites are so damn gun crazy to today. It is the equalizer. Now, we got to understand that when slavery ended, the United States Congress decided on a zero population growth rate for black people. Through your history. One of the first deliberations in Congress is what to do with the Negro. Well, they said the first thing we're going to do is not let his numbers grow. That's the first thing. And abortion was so effective to that end. In fact, they don't even just do abortion no more. They do hysterectomies now. Right. I remember I was in South Africa, riding to the airport. And for those of you who are interested, I'm going to have my second group trip to Africa, July of 2015. We're trying to do South Africa, Ethiopia, and Ghana. So start saving your money. Try to save about $5,000. No, you cannot bring your white girlfriend with you. No. Trifling motherfucker. Try to save about $5,000. You probably won't. I'm trying to get the tickets as cheap as possible. I'm not making any money on the trip.
Can you repeat that?
5,000. Ethiopia, South Africa, Ghana. Okay.
Bring your white girlfriend.
Some of y'all try to cheat and y'all go get what they call them a Mediterranean woman. You don't really know what the fuck. See your birth certificate, what are you? Half orange, half purple, you cheat. Call yourself cheat.
Is there a website or a place to sign up?
I should have the package ready when I get back out here on November the 1st. So what you can do, it'll be on my Facebook and my Twitter. It should be on my website too, but definitely Facebook and Twitter. So on Facebook, you want to get with me at Dr. Umar Ifatunde, I-F-A-T-U-N-D-E. Dr. Umar Ifatunde, not the other Dr. Umar Johnsons. Even though those have my face on it, those are not my page. Those pages are managed by the FBI, the CIA, and Homeland Security. Okay? I got a lot of fake pages floating around. I got one fake page with like 30,000 likes on it. I don't even know who run the page. Got me on it and everything. Okay? It's called Diversion. Dr. Umar Ifatunde is the one that I control. I-F-A-T-U-N-D-E. I-F-A-T-U-N-D-E. Just like it sounds. Ifatunde. Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Twitter, Dr. Umar Johnson. WhatsApp, Dr. Umar Johnson. Instagram, Dr. Umar Johnson. You can text me on my phone. 215, this is my personal cell number. Take it down, put it in your phone. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. You can text me around November 1st. I'll be back, Los Angeles, the Ebonics Conference at Charles Drew University on Saturday, November the 1st. I'll be back for that. Which day? 215-989-9858. Ladies, it ain't that type of party.
Right.
Okay? You send me a picture. It is ugly. I'm going to send it back with a restraining order. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! So, that's myself. Now, 95% of those with AIDS are living in the developing world. Black folks. Have you ever heard of the smallpox vaccination scandal? Back in the 1980s, the World Health Organization gave homosexuals in Los Angeles and Chicago and heterosexual blacks in West Africa a smallpox vaccination. And within 5 years, everybody they gave the smallpox to came up HIV positive. and you out there getting shots for flu viruses and shit. You done lost your mind. And you got your kids. H1N1. You gave your child an H1N1 shot, Hispanics and Negroes. H1N1 shot. Bird flu. So they putting a little bird flu in you to stop you from getting the bird flu? Are you crazy? You don't take nothing they got. Why would the people trying to kill you help you live? Okay? And Bill Gates, he was caught on tape at a meeting. You know, he's a Bilderberg now. He finally got recruited to the Bilderbergs. The Bilderbergs is the highest ranking white supremacist round table think tank. He finally got invited about 2 years ago. Now, he's the richest man in the world. He just got invited, so you can imagine who them is. He's over in Africa spreading disease through immunizations. Yes. Bill Gates is over there trying to make sure all the mothers are healthy before they have their babies, give them a prenatal shot, kids get the flu shot. Who the hell need a flu shot in hot-ass Africa? Okay? Common sense ain't common. Well, anyway, they caught Bill Gates on a radio interview. It wasn't a radio interview, excuse me. They caught him in a conversation. I don't know how they got the tape. He was saying that if America's current program in Africa continued, we should be able to successfully reduce the population by 20%. Has anyone ever heard of Global 2000? It was a presidential decree, I think it was Jimmy Carter, who said that we want to eliminate half the black